What an unbelievable night of Detroit Piston basketball, defeating the Washington Wizards in very dramatic fashion. One of the craziest basketball games I've ever seen in my entire life. Let's get into it right here on Top Title Detroit. Let's go.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
What's good? Welcome to Top Title Detroit. I am Eric Vincent, your host and Detroit Piston beat reporter for ClutchPoints.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you for being here. Before we get into the craziness of the Detroit Pistons win against the Washington Wizards, 137-135, before we peel into all of the madness, please help us grow the channel by liking the video and subscribing as well. Creeping up to 600 subscribers, making some slow progress, and I think we can get to where we want to go by the end of the year. So please tell a friend to lock in with us right here at Top Title Detroit. Let's get into this instant classic. You're going to be hearing those two terms a lot, and I don't think there's any other way to put or label the game that we just witnessed, with the Detroit Pistons extending their winning streak to 7 games by defeating the Washington Wizards 137-135 at Little Caesars Arena. An absolutely unbelievable atmosphere. Shout out to all the Pistons fans that were at LCA that got to see all the craziness. They got to watch this wild game from start to finish, because you really could not tell how this game was going to end. Based on how this was going, from the Pistons being up double digits at a certain point to the Wizards going up double digits, I think, in the second half, and to wind down to an overtime conclusion that was just so sporadic, hit all over the place. This game was unbelievable. Again, from start to the absolute finish, the Pistons did exactly what they needed to do, which was find a win by any means necessary. I really just want to get into a couple points. I don't want to be long-winded, because I want Piston fans to be able to go back and celebrate what they witnessed, because that's what you should be doing right now. For those of you who are younger, I'm 35 years old, so I've seen some success of the Detroit Pistons. Going through a phase right now in a stretch where the Pistons are still learning what it takes to win with a young foundation and a new core. You don't have to always explain or be upset if a win comes in a fashion that you maybe didn't expect, because this game was not pretty to watch. It was great to watch till the end in the conclusion, but it took a lot to stomach and go through what we watched with this Detroit Piston game. But you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to explain and talk about the ugly things that may have happened with some certain players' efficiencies. You don't have to worry about, oh, well, it was the Wizards you beat them against, and it took all of that to go. You don't need to explain any of that. Good teams don't always win in perfect fashion. When Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs win football games, it's not always in a blowout fashion against their opponents. When Kobe and Shaq and the Lakers were dominating teams in the early 2000s, it wasn't always in a dominating fashion where they were playing perfect. They had to go through adversity. They had to go through some ugly games where it didn't look perfect, but at the end of the day, you know they gave everything they had to make sure the victory came home with them. And that's what you saw from the Detroit Pistons against a hungry and dangerous Washington Wizards team. You survived a 42-point explosion from CJ McCollum. He played fantastic late down the stretch, put a lot of pressure against the Pistons, and they still managed to survive. Alex Sarr was having some key moments where he was blocking Cade at the rim and knocking down some big shots and really putting, again, more pressure on the Pistons to see how they were going to bend and break if they did in these circumstances, because it could have been that. The Pistons limped into this game without Isaiah Stewart, without Jaden Ivey again, no Marcus Sasser, no Tobias Harris, Asar Thompson sat down, Karis LeVert didn't play. They were down 6 bodies in this game. They were down 6 of their rotational players in this contest. Cade was, again, we've seen Cade and the core play a lot with their G League guys, where they are relied on to play heavy minutes, and not just play heavy minutes, but contribute as well. So when you're online and you're seeing people that are nitpicking everything that the Pistons did and saying, oh, well, it took all of that to play against Washington and to defeat them in overtime. If they can't tell you who Dennis Jenkins is or who Javonte Green is, scroll past their ass. You don't owe them any explanation at all. You do not owe them an explanation for what you saw and what they did. Any of the Knicks fans that are on my Twitter that are still buzzing and upset about my top 10 list with Jalen Brunson, and now you want to troll and be upset and nitpick and hate on the success that the Detroit Pistons are seeing right now, Piston fans, don't engage with any of them. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them a rationale. They don't have to hear any logic because they ain't been arguing with no logic. They don't know who these players are that the Pistons were just playing with. All they did was look at the box score. And it also tells me that a lot of y'all are probably 12 years old too and don't remember people like Allen Iverson or Kobe Bryant because they don't always have games where their true shooting percentage and VORP and their box plus minus and all the analytic numbers that you want to watch the game on with a calculator. That's your business. If that's how you want to watch the game, you do that. Just stay the hell away from me when you do it. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to Piston fans. Do not engage or give them any explanations. You did what you needed to do. So let's start with what happened and what we saw. Let's start off with Cade Cunningham because he was one of the stable mates through the core that was able to be healthy and available for tonight's game. Cade gave you an unbelievably crazy performance. 46 points, a 46-point triple-double, 12 rebounds, 11 assists, only turned the ball over 2 times. So when you hear all these haters and, oh my God, Cade is a turnover machine, tell them he's putting his numbers down in career fashion in terms of taking care of the basketball. Even when he's missing his core pieces, even when he doesn't have his number 2 scorer next to him in Jaden Ivey, even when they're still kind of lacking some of their shooting and could have a guy like Malik Beasley in certain situations, but you don't have them. You don't have Karis LeVert as your, exterior creator on offense or their alternate creator on offense. You don't have that with him. You didn't have Asar, who's been playing really good offensively in certain spots. You were missing a lot of pieces, and your superstar point guard still put up 46 points, gave you 12 rebounds and 11 assists. 5 of those rebounds came on the offensive glass. Not only did he do that on offense, he also gave you 2 blocks and 5 steals in the process. Cade worked his behind off all game. He was fantastic, even in the note of shooting 14 of 45 from the field and 2 of 11 from 3. Those numbers are discouraging for sure. But in a victory, don't care. You don't have to explain it. You do not have to explain it when you are down 6 players that are getting actual rotational minutes and your superstar has to kind of carry the water a little heavier than he normally does, score and shoot a lot more than he normally does in order to help bring home the victory. Because that's what Cade was on tonight. He was on that kind of mission of, hey, whatever it takes to get this win, I'm going to help do it. Was he missing a lot of layups that he normally makes? Absolutely. Was he, not as sharp in some jump shooting situations or maybe forcing and, not knocking down the normal shots that we're normally accustomed to seeing from Cade? Absolutely. But it was more than enough to get the job done. I don't want to hit, that's the beauty of Cade's game. Cade has always been a guy where if he's struggling in one area, he can still excel in 2, 3, 4 different areas to still get your team in position to win a basketball game. And that's what we saw tonight. So no, his shooting efficiency wasn't fantastic from the field, but he was doing plenty of other things to stay confident and keep his team within striking position to win the game. Scoring 15 points in the 4th quarter, shooting 3 of 6 from the field, if I'm not mistaken, making his free throws. That's another part that doesn't really bother me in terms of what his efficiency was from the field, because in so many games, we've seen Cade, I don't want to say shoot a lot, but when he shoots a high volume, people always say and wonder, well, why isn't he shooting more free throws in the process too? Cade doesn't always get a whole lot of free throw attempts, doesn't always get the most favorable whistle from the refs. That really wasn't the case tonight, even though he probably could have went to the free throw line a little bit more. 16 of 18 knockdown attempts. When he was getting those MVP chants from LCA, he cashed in at an efficient rate, hitting 16 of his 18 attempts. So even while he missed as many shots as he did, he still was able to get you a clean 16 points, especially clutch down the stretch like he has been all season to help seal the victory for the Pistons. Do not sweat about 14 of 45. Do not explain anything to anybody about 14 and 45. All-time greats have shot in that fashion before. And now Cade is still in historic company despite that efficiency. Because guess what? The only other players to put up 45 points with a triple-double and 5 steals in the process, and I think 2 blocks to go along with it, is one other guy. Michael Jordan. That's pretty damn good company, I'd say. I've heard all week from New York Knicks fans tell me, well, Jalen Brunson is getting stats in Michael Jordan conversations, so he clearly is better than Cade. Well, now Cade is in Michael Jordan conversations. And I ain't never seen Jalen Brunson have to carry a load with the G League team against an opponent. I've never seen that. But we've seen Cade Cunningham through his entire career play with guys like Dennis Jenkins or Killian Hayes or Isaiah Livers or James Wisemans and Kevin Knox and like a lot of guys that are not household names to an NBA roster. These are guys that are still trying to figure things out. And Cade has worked with these kind of players his whole career, dealing with double teams in the process, triple teams in the process, like we just saw against the Sixers, and he's still putting up these kind of unbelievably classic performances. Shout out to Cade Cunningham, man. An absolute superstar. The best point guard in the Eastern Conference, a top 10 player. I might even move him up higher on my list. Last time I just talked about rankings with Cade Cunningham, I had him 7th. By the end of November, he might be 5th. I don't know, but I am extremely impressed with what I've seen from Cade Cunningham. And I'm extremely impressed with what I saw from a lot of Pistons tonight. Dennis Jenkins, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and the shot of shots, the biggest shot of the season thus far. Cade Cunningham inbounded the ball, Pistons down 3 points. They ran a play at the top of the key to try to look for a 3-point look. Jalen Duren fell. I think it was a play where they were trying to get Duncan Robinson open at the top of the key for a 3. Duncan, I think, crashed into Jalen Duren. He ended up falling. And then I want to say, was it Chaz Lanier? I think he fell as well at the top of the key. So their 2 top shooting options were not even available, in Chaz Lanier and Duncan Robinson. They were screened off. They fell, collided with each other, and the Wizards defense did enough to make sure that they were sealed off. So Cade went to plan B, shot it in the corner to Dennis Jenkins for a heave and a miracle triple, and just like that, he knocked it down. Unbelievable shot. Sent LCA into an absolute frenzy, and it gave the Pistons 5 more minutes to try to steal a victory, and that's exactly what they did tonight. Unbelievable performance by Dennis Jenkins. He has been spectacular in a lot of opportunities that he's had this season, where a guy like Marcus Sasser, who's been missing due to a serious injury, Dennis has been called up a lot, and he is taking advantage of a lot of moments to show that he is ready for an NBA main roster. He absolutely is. He's a great G League player with the Crews, but I think he's ready for the big time. I think he's ready for him to be a full-time NBA player, whether it's with the Pistons or somebody else. He is a fantastic player, and he, again, is doing the most with his time right now. Played 34 minutes off the bench. 34 minutes. A G League player came out and showed out, and it wasn't just his scoring. 24 points is fantastic, but it was his effort all around. Clutch rebounds down the stretch, having to guard CJ McCollum, who was on a heater in the 4th quarter, and he didn't back down. Even when there were moments where they were struggling, because Dennis was getting cooked in certain moments, but he kept checking and going after CJ and saying, no, I want him again. Give him to me, and I'm going to make a play and stop him. And he was down the stretch in some big spots. Going back to Cade Cunningham the exact same way. Knowing that his efficiency wasn't great, he still shot through it and stayed confident. And that's the kind of confidence and spirit that JB Bickerstaff has built within this team. And we're going to talk about JB more in just a moment. Going back down this list, man, Jalen Duren, another normal starter. Great game for him, 19 points, 14 rebounds. Great defensive effort, no blocks, but 2 steals, 7 boards on the glass offensively. Had a big one down the stretch. I think off of a Paul Reed missed free throw. JD has been fantastic over these last several games, man. Still looks like an all-star. 13 points for Duncan Robinson, 11 for Javonte Green, who deserves so much credit for how he played tonight. He was phenomenal. Again, the 11 points are cool, but it's the defense and the hustle that really stamped him. Had a double-double of 11 points and 11 rebounds. But to me, the biggest part of his game was his defense. Had 2 blocks. One was on Alex Sarr, who was a 7-footer. And then he blocked, I think, CJ McCollum or somebody else in the corner, because towards the end of the game, the Wizards were just getting hot. And every time it seemed like the Pistons were out of position defensively, Javonte would crash out of nowhere, get his hand up to contest the shot and force a miss or grab a rebound to secure the open look or the next opportunity for the Pistons to go back down and score. And then to get the game-sealing dunk to get the Pistons the lead and shoot again another frenzy shot up through LCA was so cool to see. It was so cool to see these guys that are in the G League or these guys who, again, aren't household names take advantage of their moments to say, hey, we belong. We belong here. We're going to fight here. We're going to take on the grit mentality of the Detroit Pistons, and we're going to do whatever it takes to help this team get a win. And that's what he said in the post-game presser as well, saying we wanted to do whatever it took to play Detroit Piston basketball, and that's exactly what they did. Shout out to Chaz Lanier, who got 26 minutes tonight, 8 points from him. Knocked down some shots early, got some nice offensive rebounds to keep some possessions alive. Really like what I saw from Chaz. I think he's going to take a little while for him to kind of get fully comfortable with what he's doing, but I love the effort that I've seen from Chaz. We saw Bobby Klintman minutes. We saw Paul Reed get on the floor. Ron Holland started in position at the 4 position for the Pistons. It was a lot of good things that came out of this game tonight, man. But to me, my biggest takeaway outside of everything else that we've talked about so far, JB Bickerstaff continues to show how genius and how inspiring of a coach he is. And granted, I don't like talking about awards this early. We're only 11 games into the season, so I don't like talking about, coach of the year favorites or MVP favorites. However, if the season were to stop, or if we were to start voting right now, JB Bickerstaff is making a tremendous case that he is coaching better than anybody else in basketball right now. Because not only is he able to keep this team inspired and working and having their defensive identity flourish so far this season as the 3rd best defensive team in basketball so far, but again, knowing that they're doing this with so many injuries, coming into the season without Jay Ivey, no Marcus Sasser, Karis LeVert in and out of the lineup, Beef Stew has been out, who's been one of their most important defenders. You just lost Asar Thompson. Tobias has been gone for a couple weeks now at this point, and they're still fighting under the spirit of JB Bickerstaff and what he's coached them to be. I'm extremely impressed with what I've seen, no matter what. Again, it doesn't matter that he doesn't see that, okay, we're missing all these guys. Yeah, it's important to have depth, but we still going to fight. JB Bickerstaff teams don't just roll over, regardless of what the injuries look like, regardless of what the roster looks like. They're going to fight, and they're going to be competitive from start to finish. And that's exactly what you saw against the Washington Wizards. JB continues to blow me away as a coach, man. I even liked him standing up for Cade Cunningham when Cade, goes on a breakaway and gets fouled hard by Cam Whitmore, blocked by Cam Whitmore, and then he lands on his back and Cam stares at him on the ground like a jerk. And JB stuck up for him like, hey, I don't really like and appreciate how you block a guy in a crazy fashion, and then you look over at him and like you're crazy or something when he's in pain, like to kind of show him up. He wasn't a fan of that. He called it out publicly. He said he might talk to the league about it. And I think those kind of moments resonate in that locker room because you love to see a coach that fights for you. You love to know that, hey, if I'm going to lay my body out on the line, I need everybody to make sure that they have my back. So we're, as the Pistons say, together all the time together. And that includes the coach. And JB does that. He stands up for his guys. He talks the truth. He makes sure that they're still competitive and not just, wasting their time arguing with the ref. But he does his job to make sure that he stands up for his guys. And he is an inspiring guy to watch. Even, outside the X's and O's and whatnot, his energy on the sideline, knowing he never sits down during games, JB is an absolute gem of a coach in the NBA. And again, it's early, but this is the kind of stuff that coach of the year coaches should be stamping in terms of what their resume should be for their case. JB has been absolutely fantastic these first 11 games. and I love to see what I'm seeing right now from the Detroit Pistons. Talk to me in the comments. I would love to see what you think about the victory. How do you feel about the Pistons 7-game win streak right now and the game in overtime that they just won against the Washington Wizards? Talk to me in the comments section. Make sure you like the video. And of course, please help us subscribe and run up those numbers as well so we can get this Piston community as big as possible. I love being able to engage with y'all. I love talking to y'all on social media. Please make your way over here to my channel as well so we can keep the fun going here. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate y'all and love y'all for being here, man. I'll be back soon. We got a big week coming up for the Pistons. A lot of important games coming up in November, and I'm going to get as much coverage as I can, whether it's on my social media at I am Eric Vincent, on clutchpoints.com where I do all of my writing, and of course right here at Top Title Detroit. Peace.